to do this, commissioners. It's a few paragraphs, and I'll start. We happen to be white, comma, live in Lebanon County, and use our property frontage to display signage that represents our positions on social, political, and environmental issues. Under our current provocative leadership, we became alarmed by the acceptance, encouragement, and proliferation of racism, hate, and violence in our country. We chose to display capital Black Lives Matter and Martin Luther King signs along with our Biden/Harris banner. As a result, we have been experiencing passersby shouting profanities and making vulgar gestures at us and our property on almost a daily basis. This would be a new paragraph. These hateful expressions escalated to a premeditated act of arson at 8:42 p.m. on Monday, the 16th of November, 2020, when individuals conspired and burned a raccoon at the end of our driveway near our Martin Luther King sign. From video footage, a truck stops in front of our property, a person runs to our driveway, and almost immediately flames flare up several feet close to our wooden fence and a tree. The individual quickly runs away and jumps into the bed of the truck, and the driver speeds off. When the flames subsided, we were horrified to see a raccoon had obviously been doused with a flammable fluid and ignited. We were shocked that our community, quotation mark, neighbors would attack us in this way for their blatant racist message. New paragraph. According to the FBI, this would be in quotation marks, a hate crime is a traditional offense like murder, comma, arson, or vandalism with an added element of bias. For the purposes of collecting statistics, the FBI has defined a hate crime as a quotation mark criminal offense against a person or property motivated in whole or part by an offender's bias against a race, religion, disability, sexual orientation, ethnicity, gender, or gender identity. End of quotation marks. Hate crimes are the highest priority of the FBI's civil rights program because of the devastating impact they have on families and communities. We have a website. Okay, so then the next paragraph would be, we are especially concerned for the safety and well-being of our fellow community members who have been burdened for so long by racism and bigotry and fear of violence. Common sense and common decency dictate that mutual respect and acceptance must prevail if we are to live, work, and thrive together. We cannot tolerate this type of crime here in Lebanon County or anywhere else. Overt acts of racism must be unequivocally denounced by our elective public officials, community leaders, and each one of us. Justice demands that ordinary citizens speak out. Hate and bigotry can only propagate when good people remain silent. If anyone has been the victimized by discrimination or a perceived hate crime, please contact the Pennsylvania State Human Relations Board and report the incident by calling 717-772-0523 or file a discrimination complaint. To get educated on racism, please go to phrc.pa.gov. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And that statement will be entered into the official record of this meeting.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
Would you like a motion on the resolution that?
It's not a resolution, it's a statement that is going to be just entered into the record. The resolution from 2 weeks ago, they requested that we did not present that.
No, that's not true, Bob. Sorry, I thought the purpose of this meeting was we looked at it and you said it was going to be presented at this meeting. So we would like to address the resolution.
I apologize because all I remember was that you asked, when is our next meeting? And I gave you that, I thought, but I can check my texts, but I didn't think that this was going to be done, but I'm certainly in favor of it because I was ready to do it 2 weeks ago. So Joe,
Okay.
I'll accept your motion.
Yes, I moved Resolution 34-2021, opposing and rejecting all forms of hate, racism, bigotry, and criminal violence in Lebanon County.
I'll second that motion, but does Jamie have that available to read so that?
I was going to say I didn't want to read the whole thing if he was going to.
I do. Would you be willing to make it three? Well, I guess that's right. 3/4/2020. Yeah, date is updated on. Okay.
It was updated.
Ready, Mr. Chairman?
Yep. Yeah.
Whereas we oppose and reject all forms of hate, racism, bigotry, and criminal violence in Lebanon County, and whereas we are concerned for the safety and well-being of our fellow citizens in Lebanon County who have been victimized by racism, bigotry, or fear of violence. Whereas we recognize that common decency dictates that members of our community treat each other with mutual respect if we are to live, work, and thrive together. And therefore be it resolved, we the County Commissioners hereby acknowledge racist symbolism and condemn all acts of racism, bigotry, and hate in Lebanon County. We further encourage other public officials in Lebanon County to do the same. And we will support programs, activities, and public forums to engage the public in addressing discrimination, bigotry, hate, and racism through respectful, informed, and thoughtful dialogue.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of accepting the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? So moved. Okay.
Okay, thank you for that. And I apologize, Bob, for miscommunication or misunderstanding on that point. The reason we requested to have our personal statement and account of what happened was because in our original resolution, that was part of it. And then, the version you just adopted removed that. So we thought it would be important to have our personal statement entered into the record. So
Very good.
that may have resulted in the confusion. But, I do want to say, just yesterday in the Lebanon Daily News front page article was talking about hate incidents against Asian Americans in PA. And in the body of the article, a gentleman from Lebanon, Pennsylvania is quoted as saying he's biracial, his mother's Filipino, and they've been the victims of racism. So, racism has no limits. People who hate can find, anyone to direct that towards. So it seems to me that, I'm so glad you adopted the resolution. I think now it's time to act and look at programs that can be brought into Lebanon County. This Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission does have No Hate in Our State. It's a program, that they're willing to bring in. And I don't know when the right time would be to do that. Maybe after most of us have been inoculated in the fall. But I'm asking the county commissioners to consider doing something like that and reaching out to the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission on what they have to offer.
All right. Thank you. And, we'll then now return to our regular agenda.
Can you, Ann and Mike joined us. I don't know if they have any comments to make. Would you mind if they?
Well, yeah, I'm not going to thwart their, right to speak, but I was thinking we'd be doing the reading of your statement and adopting it, but we can go ahead. If there is additional comment that's not been covered already, I would accept it. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. With your permission, Ann, I'll just go first really quickly here. Thank you to the commissioners for considering and passing this resolution. I think it's a very good first step. One of the reasons why we brought this forward is because we would like to get this incident into the FBI databases on hate crimes, because that's how we interpret it as a hate crime. And so, again, one of our goals here, but then, as you know, there is tumult in the North Cornwall Township Police Department. The police chief just resigned. One of the officers is facing charges for the January 6th Capitol riot. And so things are in kind of a tumult in North Cornwall Township. There was discussion last time about our inability to secure the police report of this incident, as well as the photographs and so on that were taken. So I guess we'd like to also ask the commissioners to consider, or moving forward. I'm not exactly sure how we do this, but to ultimately the goal would be to get this designated as a hate crime, so that it is entered into the FBI databases and becomes part of our part of the kind of national conversation in the record. So is there any thoughts on that?
Yeah, my recommendation would be that when whoever's even interim chief, that maybe you would reach out to try to get closure on that report, because that was the answer I got when I visited with Chief Leahy at the time. And he said that because it's an open, still an open investigation, that he would not release any pictures or information. So that was where I was, stuck. And that's why we revised the original resolution, because he was not willing to, complete, or was unable to complete the investigation. So I would say if there's a new look at it, maybe be more successful than I was when I reached out.
And Bob, I just went on that point. I did speak to Sergeant Harry Ward, who has taken over for John Leahy, and he pretty much said the same thing. They're not going to release it. But I guess my point is that regardless of what the police do or how the investigation ends or whatever happens with that, regardless, I think all of us here could agree that it was a racist hate crime. So I don't see, the one necessarily having to influence any statement or condemnation that, officials or leaders in our community take, because I think that's what's going to be needed to address racism. We have to speak out when we see it, and we can't say, well, we can't because of a criminal investigation that may come to a conclusion or not. So that was our original point in putting it in the resolution, and I understand that's why you decided to take it out. But I don't see the two necessarily having to influence each other, and should not, in my opinion. They should not.
I guess maybe more conversation can take place, but that was my answer from the chief at the time. And so I was bowing to his judgment on it, since he was the one doing the investigation. Do you have any comments to make?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Thank you again for your time, for all of you. I just wanted to say that I hope that this heightens your awareness to the hate that exists in our county. I hope that the newly elected chief for the North Cornwall Township will stand for the safety of all citizens, as I feel he never conducted an investigation into the incident that occurred at the Sallahubs. And I want to assure my children that we live in a community that looks out for all citizens, and I believe that should be universal. Thank you for adopting the resolution, and thank you very much for your time.
Okay. All right, thank you. Now we'll move on to no other raised hands for public comments, so we'll move on. Is that correct? We'll move on to the agenda, the approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as printed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the minutes of our previous meeting as presented. Any comment, question, or deletion or addition? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved. I think Ellie and John are still
Frozen,
panelists. Is that?
frozen somehow.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they're,
Alright.
they are out on the list and they're not. And they're
I
not.
see Tina is with us this morning. Welcome, Tina. And if you'd like